The tragic story of OnlyFans performer Lily Phillips is another reminder that there is not a single good reason not to ban pornography. Now, for those of you unfortunate enough to come across this story, the only reason I'm commenting on a story like this with such specifics is because it's been covered by every single major media outlet, mainstream media. It's been covered by most of the major podcasts, etc., and it's gone viral across social media. It's gone viral on X. It's gone viral on YouTube. So Lily Phillips, basically did a stunt where, as an OnlyFans performer, which is essentially a form of personalized, it's a personalized pornography service where girls use a webcam, they get subscribers, and then they communicate with their subscribers and they perform various sex acts and do things like that in exchange for money. So it's basically like prostitution, but on video. And she did this shtick where she promised to sleep with 100 men in a single day in a London Airbnb. And there was a documentary done about this. And there's a clip of her talking to filmmaker Joshua Peters just after she finished breaking this world record. She slept actually with 101 men in a single day. And here is what that clip looks like.
I think sometimes like feeling so like robotic, like by the 30th, you know, like when we're getting on a bit, I've got like a routine of like how we're gonna do this, and like it just sometimes you'd like disassociate and be like, you know, like it's not like normal sex at all. In my head right now, I can think of like 5, 6 guys, 10 guys that I remember, and that's it. But it's just, I don't know, it's just weird, isn't it? Like if I didn't have the videos, I wouldn't have known I've done 100, you know. But yeah, I think that was kind of the hard part, is like conversing with them, and like when they'd kind of be like, oh, like we've only had 2 minutes or 3 minutes and you said 5 on the message.
Did someone say that to you?
Yeah. And obviously it just makes me feel so bad.
Do you think you should feel bad about that?
I guess when you've promised something to people who support you, it's kind of hard to let them down.
But it's up to you, right? Like when you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you even processed, do you think, what's happened?
Not yet. I won't forget the stage.
When I decided to start making this documentary, I wasn't too sure of what to expect. I certainly didn't expect to see Lily so upset at the end of it all.
Peter goes on to say that, I thought perhaps in years to come she might look back on this day in sadness, but not so instantly afterwards. And this video is heartbreaking for a lot of reasons. There's been a ton of responses to this again. I think that a lot of people are emphasizing that there is still grace and healing for people like Lily Phillips, which is of course obviously true. Others are pointing out also truthfully that this is sort of the logical end of what the sexual revolution looks like when you replace any standard of morality for sexuality with just a very simple standard of consent and not discuss what consent actually is or what it looks like. But there's another point here I think that's worth looking at. Phillips, again, is employed as an OnlyFans creator, and she was the subject of this documentary titled I Slept with 100 Men in One Day. And as you just saw, at the end of that, she looked very, very devastated. And as Lois McLatchy Miller, who is the spokeswoman for ADF International, observed, she's responsible for her own behavior in this sick stunt. It's also clear that OnlyFans have turned women into plastic dolls, and the models themselves have brought this heartbreaking lie. And this is a point I want to zero in on, because this video, this horrifying stunt that Miller pulled, is the logical conclusion of where the porn industry takes us. A porn industry that many people participate in, that even many of you may participate in, and that we need to recognize as a force for tremendous evil. This video isn't just some extreme aberration. It is the logical conclusion both of the sexual revolution, but of the porn industry in particular. The majority of Westerners now consume pornography regularly. Like I've said before, in mid-2020, Pornhub was getting 4.5 trillion clicks monthly, which is exceeding the traffic of both Google and Facebook combined. And much of that content features the abuse of women. One consequence of nations filled with porn addicts is that the content has to become more and more extreme as users crave new material. The porn industry drives porn addiction, but it's also a feedback loop as porn addicts also drive the porn industry with their need for increasingly perverse material to feed their addiction. Let me quote for you from an article explaining why looking at pornography and then getting addicted to pornography drives this need for new and more perverse content. Quote, experiencing new things triggers dopamine, making us feel good. Porn provides a never-ending display of novelty. Novelty is strongly associated with overconsumption. Extra excitement activities strengthen brain circuits, urging repeated use. Over time, the brain learns that porn is a reliable way to encounter novel images and seek good feelings. Each new stimulus gives an incentive to explore more, and this rush creates the anticipation of a reward, and the addiction cycle is born. Dr. Emra Dazul from the Institute of Cognitive Neuroscience at UCL says, when we see something new, we see it has a potential for rewarding us in some way. This potential that lies in new things motivates us to explore our environment for rewards. The brain learns that stimulus, once familiar, has no reward associated with it, and so it loses its potential. And for this reason, only completely new objects activate the midbrain area and increase our levels of dopamine. Pornography supplies endless novelty. Or to reword this a different way, we need pornography to be endlessly novel in order for pornography to still work. If you're addicted to pornography, the stuff you started looking at will not arouse you anymore a year later, maybe even 6 months later. And so you're going to need to see increasingly extreme things in order to still find pornography arousing, to still get that dopamine rush. I have talked to countless porn addicts who said one day they woke up one day and were just stunned by the kinds of things that they were watching and the kinds of things they enjoyed watching. And they didn't realize how pornography had essentially metastasized their sexual tastes until they were looking at things that physically disgusted them and yet also compelled them when it should have repelled them. Now, interestingly enough, some have lauded the creation of OnlyFans as a step closer to eliminating abuse in the porn industry. Obviously, pornography is inherently wrong. It's not just wrong because it fuels abuse. It's inherently wrong because it's an offense against the dignity of the human person created in God's image. OnlyFans is a subscriber-based platform that allows women to prostitute themselves online, and it cuts out, of course, the industry executives and porn sets and allows performers to sell their work directly to a subscriber base. So they're essentially self-employed and the direct financial beneficiaries of their work. And just so you know, the platform is wildly popular now. OnlyFans has 305 million fans and 4.1 million accounts. And in 2023, the number of user accounts increased by 28%, and the number of creator accounts increased by 29%. But those who hoped OnlyFans would decrease the abuse in the industry were obviously wrong, because we are now in an increasingly, if not entirely, pornified society. And OnlyFans creators are now voluntarily enslaving themselves to a voracious audience of addicts who constantly crave new and more extreme content, and whose consumption of abusive material has wired their arousal patterns to degradation, humiliation, and destruction, which they now want from whichever OnlyFans creators that they have subscribed to. Now, if these creators want to keep their customers, they must respond to the new demands. And the demands, as with traditional porn sites, are increasingly dark, increasingly degrading, as we saw with this awful, horrifying, tragic stunt pulled by Lily Phillips. Pornography is the celebration of the destruction of the feminine, and millions of people, as a result, will arouse themselves to the sight of a 23-year-old girl degrading herself by being taken by over 100 men. And as we saw in that clip, she will sob afterwards, but ultimately insist that it's worth it. Her viewers, with their lust stoked by her degradation, will sadly agree. Thank you all for watching this clip of the Bridgehead briefing. If you have any comments or discussions that you'd like to have, please drop those in the comments. If you found the video helpful, you can click like or you can subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. You can get our content wherever you find your podcasts. Thank you so much once again for your time. We hope you'll join us again next week.